GM everyone, I'm here today with my good friend Lamby, who is one of the best players in the game. We're gonna be checking out the priming, which is our database for gameplays that shows statistics, win rates, popularity of paragons, everything. So, yeah, welcome in, Lamby. How are you doing today?
Yo, what's up, Quinto? What's up? Excited to be doing this together with you today. Excited to check out the numbers, talk a bit about the meta, and we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, awesome. So, first thing that I want to show you about the priming is that I like to filter in by last week, since it's the most recent data that we show here. As you can see, we had an increase in games recorded. I believe this is because after the shotgun patch, many people came in. We also did a campaign to make people share their data with us. As you can see, we have 106 contributors. And we can see also that the average game length of everyone is around 10 minutes. We see here also the win rates. We have ADHQ as number one, then Gafar, and then Nehemiah. How do you feel about that, Lamby? You that know the meta better than anyone.
Okay, let's do something interesting for this one. So we look at the win rate section, right? We see tons of blue, tons of green. I would like Quinto to go and filter back to last month, and then we will see a very big difference, I'm very sure. So if you look at last month, we see a speck of red down there. Because obviously pre-patch Cathy was the monster, right? We all know what Cathy did. But if we go back to last week, we will literally see that Cathy has quite literally disappeared. It's just all green and blue. It makes a lot of sense, right? Yeah, so it is very interesting because Cathy was a meta-dominant force before the shotgun patch. But then now, as you can see from the stats, right, it literally fell off the map quite a bit, by a lot. Yeah, look at it, it's all the way down here. I think Earthen just got so many new tools. Helm of a Victor for all Earthen decks is super strong and wins the game on curve. Sippy kind of just got some new tools as well, right? Sippy got a convergent mass buff, and of course with Cathy being its natural predator, dropping down the tier list, its win rate just improves. So I'm quite I mean, it's kind of obvious that the best two decks are green and blue right now. It's just that the Asia one is very interesting to me. I think it might be a bit of an outlier because I personally have not been playing a lot of Asia. But I guess the people that are actually playing Asia are doing really well.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that are sharing the data. So that could be a thing.
Yeah, you can see it here. There's 894 games registered for CPUs last week and 248 only for HUs. So definitely it's what you're saying. CPUs is overall more being used more, so the win rate logically tends to be less because it's just more games played for it. So which Paragon or Parallel basically do you want to hop into? Let's get into the decks page. As you can see here, you have to log in. You can connect your wallet just to access further down. So we're gonna see some of the cards here that have jumped in popularity. For the in this case, the filtering is quite accurate. Since I see Cyrene Trophy Hunter got like 99.6% popularity right now, 5,800 total games. Yeah, this is pretty accurate right now.
I think the three cards that I just want to highlight. Firstly, Cyrene obviously got a huge buff, almost close to staple in every deck right now, as you can see in terms of popularity, right? Like it's almost in every deck. Just a powerhouse of a card. Second card I want to highlight is Saboteur, obviously, because Sippy, arguably one of the top decks of the meta. One of the biggest counters to Sippy is Saboteur. And funnily enough, Saboteur is also good into Earthen because Altar of Gaia is a beast of a card to swing games. So Saboteur kind of just works well into the top two decks of the meta right now. And then, of course, the last card I want to talk about, really interestingly, this one is more of a drop in popularity, which I believe is Rummaging Researcher. Rummaging Researcher, ever since the change, right, dropped to a 3 mana 2/4, and also the fact that now it's mandatory draw, probably sees it drop a little bit in popularity. Like I know there are some Earthen builds that don't even run Rummaging anymore. So yeah, these 3 cards I really want to highlight. And of course, if you look at the rest of the cards, a lot of blue cards, and then some staples like Snitching and Wong. Yeah, so I think all these all make sense.
Yeah. So a feature like, for example, showing the drops in popularity or increase in popularity for the priming would be nice to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So should we go right into the decks of
Yeah, sure.
the top contenders? Let's start with Gafar, that seems to have 500 games won and a 57% win rate. Once again, I'm filtering here for last week. You can see the overview of the deck, games played, and the core cards, which is a new feature we introduced, which is the archetypes. Now you can see them here. For example, the top decks we have right now is the archetype for Gafar is ramp. Every Gafar deck that it's played is ramp, but you can see here the core cards, and if you want to change anything, just analyze these core cards and add whatever you want to say. So going into the first deck, 15 games played, I think that's a bit low. Let's move on to the second one. The second list that we see here with 68 games played, 10 minutes average time, and a 67.7% win rate. How does this list looks like, Lamby?
Yeah, actually, I looked at the first list, I looked at the second list. Most of it is like very similar to what I run myself as well. Outside of the tech cards, right? Like you see a stealth fuel generator, that's probably just like a one-off tech card. But and then the relic repurposing for CP and stuff like that. Other than that, the lists both look really, really similar. I think one of the biggest power spikes that Gafar got was we can see Gafar's Peacekeeper got buffed, and it's now basically a walking change of heart. And that's obviously a lot better than playing a spell effect, right? So this card gave the deck so much of a power boost. And I think I also want to talk a bit about generically across the board. Earthen got Fungal Grenadier as a buff. Fungal Grenadier just became a. I play this on the board. I click my mouse and I get a decay, and you can use it once every turn. It's 4 mana 4/4. Just click and decay. It is really very convenient, very strong, and of course you already run Altar of Gaia's in Earthen, which make this even better. I've even seen some lists, probably not very popular yet, but I've seen some lists that run Spoils of War, because it's very easy to trigger like Flourish and all these other effects to draw cards with the Spoils of War. So, yeah, I think overall the list is it looks very similar to what I run myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some new cards in this meta. For example, the Stealth Field Generator, the Helm of Avigdor, the Hasty Mobilization is also being used, and even a Rhetorician here as a tech card. Really interesting additions to the meta for sure. Okay. So yeah, this is basically the list for Gafar that's being used mostly. And well, let's move on to the next one. Nehemiah is also seeing play for what I see. 800 games played.
Yeah.
Let's look.
I mean,
Yeah.
Nehemiah was the old reliable before
Yeah.
Gafar. I mean, like before this meta, we had a lot of Nehemiah, a little bit of Soshana, but zero Gafar, pretty much. But as you can see, the list is about the same. I think the most things that you would add to this deck into the new meta right now is you add Helm of a Victor, you add Cyrene. These are like the defaults. Then you maybe add Fungal Grenadier. And we can see one of the lists here even runs Spells of War, the one that I mentioned, because it's just so easy to trigger Flourish and like changing of attune states right now. So this card's very interesting because I think at 1 mana it's actually quite easy to fit into the deck. Obviously it depends on like how many copies you want to run, but it's a very good draw engine because like I mentioned a bit earlier in the video, like people are starting to stray away from rummaging researcher. So like if you stray away from one card draw engine, you kind of need a new card draw engine, right? So maybe people are experimenting with like Spoils of War. The old school Cunning Diplomats are also seeing play, stuff like that. But I always believe that in general, most decks always have like Wong as the card draw engine, and then they will have like one more secondary card draw engine, right? Which is like rummaging, or maybe now Spoils of War, Cunning Diplomat, whatever it is. Like I mean, even Kathy had Wong and then Triumph of Mars, like that kind of thing. So every deck has like a Wong and like a secondary draw engine.
Correct. I mean, Earthen has always been a parallel that tends to run out of cards easily. So definitely having more options to cycle. Really interesting to see these spoils of war addition for card draw. So what about hasty mobilization now? Like, why is it getting more play? Like, it gets better hits, or what is it about it?
Yeah, it's just cool because I don't even think Nehemiah is the best hasty mobilization deck. I think the best hasty mobilization target is actually the Gafar's Peacekeeper, which is in the Gafar deck, which makes it a very powerful hasty mobilization deck. But that being said, across the board, we have access to so many good 5s and 4s in Earthen right now.
Yeah.
The obvious one that is like played across the board, like I said, is Cyrene, right? You can hasty mobilization and spawn a Cyrene. That one is insane in terms of tempo swing. And then Nehemiah, despite not having Gafar's Peacekeeper, it has Fungal Grenadier still, which is a good hit and good spawn off of the hasty mobilization. I guess to a certain extent, some people do run Nehemiah's Faithful. I think it's a bit less popular of a card. Rhetorican also, something you can spawn. It's just a big 5 mana 6/6.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of good hits with hasty mobilization right now for Earthen. So definitely something you want to explore. Though of course the downside with hasty mobilization is if you build too hard for hasty mobilization, you compromise like your effects and your low cost cards, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you don't build more towards hasty mobilization, you would end up having like not too good hits, like your chance of hitting like good cards is less also. So it's like a weird balance that you have to try and balance. Personally, I think Gafar is the better hasty mobilization deck, just because Gafar's Peacekeeper is just such a beast to hit off the card.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. Yeah, great analysis of the new meta for Earthen. Really interesting to see what's new about the deck. Seeing more cards getting played, I think that's great to see. So
yeah, I know. I need to add one more thing, which is Helm of a Victor. Oh my gosh, that card. Helm of a Victor is I know we used to say like Steward of the Garden win the game if it gets unanswered. The funny thing now is the best answer to Steward of the Garden, as you can see at popularity number 2, no snitching. No snitching is such a high popularity card.
Yeah.
But Helm of a Victor just nullifies that because the unit on the board survives, and then you equip the helm, you attack, you ramp up, and then once Earthen hits its mid game, it's like quite unstoppable. All the threats in Earthen are about like 4 to 5 costs, 4 to 6 costs, like most of the big threats in Earthen. So this card just allows you to snowball your game plan. And I would honestly say that like the amount of games that I've lost when I played like Steward into Helm of a Victor, I don't even know if I've actually lost any game playing Steward in the Helm of a Victor. To be completely frank, maybe 1 game or even 0, but that is such an insane start. And I know it's crazy to say, but I think this buff I think it might be a bit too powerful, but we'll see how it goes. I like to play with my broken cards for a bit of time before they nerf it, that's for sure.
Yeah, before it was mainly like to protect you from a no snitching on your Steward of the Garden was mainly the Aurora Fungi, since you could play on turn 2, have a unit that could trade or do whatever. But now that the helm was reduced in cost, it definitely serves the purpose of still having the option to ramp if you get snow snitched. Really, really interesting to see this card in the meta right now. So,
all right,
let's move on to CPUs.
Yeah. So the win rates for all those, I think I saw it's all 55%, super close, right?
Yeah.
It's like 55.3, 55.5. I think Nehemiah and Gafar literally had like a 0.0 something percent difference in win rate only. So I think it's all very close,
Yeah, for sure. And that's good. That's good for the game. Like
that's good, yes.
To level the playing field there. So looking into this deck, CPUs, the most played Paragon Steel. We see here a list with 75% win rate. 33 games played. I think this would be a list that definitely is the one, or just similar lists.
Yeah, actually, let's just look at both of these lists because I think it's very interesting and I want to talk a bit about it, which is and actually I think both of these lists show exactly what I want to talk about, which is by default, I think regardless of what build of CP you play, the Convergent Recruiter search engine, I think people have like realized that it's the best search engine for the deck. It's like semi-tutor, it also kind of draws cards, and it hits all the cards that you really want to hit, because all the blue cards are stuff that you want to like search to your hand when you need them, right? Like you want to search a Magna, you want to search a Domina, like you want to search Convergence to pair with the Domina. Also, this is a very low cost master ability that your CP can reproduce and let you draw more cards. A lot of the time, a lot of games, CP runs out of cards if it doesn't hit a recruiter by the middle game. It will run out of cards, and then your CP cannot draw more cards, because you didn't hit a recruiter. So this card is just very convenient, and obviously it also gets buffed by the relic, which is the best card in the deck. So it makes a lot of sense that the default best engine for draw in this CP deck is the recruiter engine. But I think we want to talk a bit about some cards that are showing itself in the CP deck also, which is firstly Cyrene, right? I mean, gonna sound like a broken record, but Cyrene is like Cyrene in everything, basically. It's just so good. It allows CP to react, because people always complain, right? Like CP has no reactivity. It can't fight back when he loses the board. Well, Cyrene is insane at fighting back when you lose the board. And also in this deck in particular, I think if we scroll to the side a bit, we'll be able to see Tabula Rasa, which is basically CP has about 3 Syrenes sometimes. Yeah, because what you can do is you can bank the Cyrene and then you can copy it with the Tabula. You can copy anything with Tabula, but copying Battle Readies with Tabula allows you to attack with them straight away. And also, if you use Tabula to copy Cyrene, the Cyrene is a 6/6 with the Relic because it gets buffed because of the clone status. So it's really, really strong. And then I guess one more card I would like to highlight is the Convergent Mass. So this is a bit interesting because a small part of me feels like I think we should have already been playing this card in our old builds of CP before the buff. But no one really bothered to explore. Even myself, I faded it a bit. But now with the buff, the end of turn gift +1/+1, and also +1/+0 if it's a clone, is very, very, very strong, because this is basically your 4th relic, or even better than a 4th relic if it cannot die, if it doesn't die on the board. It's also, if you top deck it like mid to late game, it's like a 6/6 to 9/9, which is very difficult to deal with outside of maybe Erasure. And that's also like spending 3 mana to remove. So it already did its job, like it already did its job, and then you remove it, and then everything else in the deck is already buffed. So, and of course the random times you just kill people with Domina and this card is it's a treat. It's insane. So this card also can be repeated in terms of its master ability by CP. So there are very often times if the game goes long, you can play CP to re-trigger Mass, and then your deck is just basically buffed without the relic. So yeah, this card is, I think, staple in this deck as well. And then the last thing I want to talk about is Memento, actually, which is used to be a staple in this deck pre-shotgun patch. But of course, with the Memento change, it's a lot easier to remove right now. If it gets wasted on the opponent's turn, it's just gone forever. So I know a lot of lists cutting Memento. As you see, the bottom list doesn't run it. The top list still runs it. I don't think there's like a strictly correct or wrong answer here. I just think that it's definitely not as staple as it used to be.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, going back to the Convergent Mass discussion, I think definitely what changed it all was that they changed it from the start of the turn to the end of the turn. And I feel that players in that case just didn't feel that they will be able to trigger the Convergent Mass effect, because like just being able to trigger it once is such a difference, like makes such a difference, especially for the buff to Convergence, like the extra buff to Convergence. This is actually an insane analysis also, Lamby, especially for the Cyrene going to Tabula. Yeah, overall the same deck, but with some additions that just made it way powerful. Now,
I want to add one more thing about Convergent Mass, which I think is very important, because like even this is why sometimes we need like stat sites for reference, or we need like to look at the decks of other people as well, because I'm pretty sure there are people that picked up on Convergent Mass even pre-buff, sorry, because now that I think about it, right, the reason why I feel like maybe we should have been more hyped up about Convergent Mass even pre-buff is that the amount of times now that, because I'm playing the card, the amount of times that it actually just doesn't die across 2 or 3 turns is a lot. So even, yes, obviously now we get the end of turn buff, but I think even in the past, it's not a card that dies easily. So there's a chance that we could have gotten 1 buff in the past, even if it's old effect. Yeah, so I think this is very important, like to always keep yourself like aware of what other players are playing as well. So it's like good to have like a website to reference like maybe some less popular deck type deck versions that you could use as a reference for yourself.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, definitely something that arose based on the experience of using it. Now that you see that it survives, like, but since no one was using it, no one could tell that it actually
Correct.
had the ability to survive on the board and keep on triggering the effect.
Correct.
That's really nice to hear. Okay, so we already covered the main decks for Earthen and CPUs and Cathari. So moving on, I guess Neve, another one.
Yeah.
This is
Also,
yeah.
yeah, the fall off is huge, right? You see, like the top decks are like 55%, 56, then the next range is 51. Like a 5% decrease in overall win rate is huge, by the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can clearly tell that like these decks they're either less popular or they just win less in general. So yeah, so Neve is I mean it's one of my favorite decks of all time. All reliable. I bring it to almost every tournament. It's just a good deck. Popularity fell off, I guess, also mainly simply because I would say that CP is just harder for this deck to deal with right now. I think the main reason why this was used to be a really good deck into CP was also because you have Dominion, Malia,
Yeah.
Steward that kind of just counters the CP archetype pretty hard. And of course, banishing is just insane versus Earthen. But the thing is now even CP has so much reach, right? Like we just talked about CP having like 3 to 4 Sirens, which also by extension means 3 to 4 Dominas sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you die very randomly as Shroud right now versus CP. So I can see why this is not necessarily the best thing to do versus a CP anymore. But I do still think it's a very good deck because it's like kind of the only deck right now that has access to one of the best AoEs in the game, which is Neve's Dominion. Neve's Dominion is like in Parallel's game right now, there is not a lot of low cost or like flexible AoE, you know, like AOP and demolecularize all cost 8, so it's a bit expensive. But I think what Neve has is that you have an AoE in Dominion, which can be you can choose how much damage you want to deal. And I think the ability to choose, you know, in the middle of the game is very important.
Yep.
How much damage you want to deal. So, and of course, this also benefits Malia as a card. And also once again, funny thing, Neve as a control deck also plays Siren because it's just too good of a card.
Yeah, definitely can't leave it out. But Siren was the main addition here to the Neve deck. There was not any other changes really here.
Actually, the funny thing is this Siren is the main addition, but we need to also consider what Neve lost, which you don't see here. It totally disappeared. It's called Honored Steward, guys. Honored Steward disappeared from the meta because going up to 5 mana is just a bit too pricey.
Yeah, too pricey for sure. So yeah, definitely Siren. It's a big counter to Neve, and I see it in the way that if you're playing Neve against CPUs and you need to use many Dominions to clear the board, it's not like before where, yeah, there was definitely a Domina that could kill you or a wild Mercenary Gunslinger that could deal that one last damage if you were left at 1 damage, 1 health playing Neve. But now with 5 Sirens, as you're saying, like 3 Sirens, it's just too powerful against Neve.
Also, the conversions are bigger now because of mass.
So more difficult to remove with Neve's Dominion, and that's why essentially Neve's decks have fell off. Is there like now that begs the question: is there any other Shroud? Look at these win rates right here.
Wow,
and it's a lot of games.
I'm shocked that Brand is. Actually, maybe I'm not that shocked because I know people have been trying to play New Dawn to counter Earthen a little bit. We can check out the New Dawn. So it's still less than 50% win rate because I feel like the only thing New Dawn is really a bit more spectacular against is Earthen specifically because the amount of hard removal you have in New Dawn, right? Let me just off the top, right? Obviously, Erasures, Eclipse Fate, Dark Repulse, a very strong card that New Dawn uses very, very well. Yeah, Dark Repulse is like it's one of the cards that beats Earthen really, really, really hard. Yeah, so the problem with this deck is half the time the Parallel is not a game that goes for that long yet. So your hero power, I won't say hero power, your Paragon ability in the New Dawn doesn't get that much value. Like the games end before you get a lot of value from the Paragon. So yeah, and this is what I think is the reason why Neve is way better than New Dawn in general, because Neve has a I win the game button, which is Neve herself. Like when you spawn stuff with Neve, you end the game in like the next 2 turns.
Yep.
Whereas for New Dawn, you still keep grinding and grinding, and I think slowly grinding out the game, when aggression is so strong right now, is probably not the best thing to do. But funnily enough, this deck still runs Siren. So, yep. Not to sound like a broken record, but Siren, guys.
No, I mean,
Paragons has a lot of Sirens. I just want to say.
yeah, definitely, it's one of the best cards in the game right now with the battle ready, the buff and stats, like the ability to actually trade without losing health. I mean, it's big buffs done right there. So yeah, definitely other Shroud Paragons get hurt when there's a big aggro meta. And right now,
the most popular Markolian is ADHQ. I mean, it's not by a lot. It's like close, but I mean, it's all close, right? It's 47, 48, 49. So I'm curious. ADHQ. Damn.
254 games played here. And
yeah, it's kind of close.
There's actually not many games. This is a list that they're running right now. It's
not a lot of games, but yeah. So this Cathy card that you highlighted, I feel like it's so strong. I mean, if you can run Cathy in a non-Cathy deck, you run Cathy in a non-Cathy deck. It's the 4-mana 5/5. Sometimes it can solo the game. I would say in general, after the shotgun patch, many decks got a lot of boss monsters. I mean, everyone got Siren. This what's that called? Lamby and ADHQ got this Cathy, which is quite a boss monster itself. It's quite interesting that Cathy cannot run herself, but every other deck can run Cathy. But yeah, it's a good card. Like when I tested out Markolian, I also tend to like want to run this like in non-Cathy Markolians, I want to run this Cathy as well. Like people might be thinking, okay, it's a random 4-mana 5/5. I can't choose what I want to hit, but it's big and it usually kills 2 things, so it's pretty good.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, let's take a look at the Cathy list, the one that's run the most, and maybe talk about the reasons why it fell off. Mostly 99 games here by this master player.
That's a lot of games.
6 win rate. Yeah, this is I believe this is a solid list. This is another one here from a diamond one, pretty similar, I guess.
Yeah, so my initial idea with Cathy, I had this dream basically, which is you play like Combat Heuristics Extrapolator CHE on turn 3, and then you attack, you get discounted Rallying Cry, and because of the new fleet support, it discounts it even one further. So you can go turn 4, play fleet support and 0-cost Rallying Cry and spawn 4. I mean, it's hard to do, but I guess that's what this person is thinking as well with this list. Yeah, but I prefer this above because the combo I talked about was very difficult to pull off. But
yeah,
I do think there's something with fleet support, by the way. Like fleet support allows you to go on turn 4, fleet support plus 0-cost PS8 for swing, or you can go fleet support plus Rallying Cry on 6. I mean, if you can set up the fleet support and not really lose, your turn 5 is probably going to be really strong, right? Like you can go Centrilon for 6 damage AoE. You can burn them with all your burn cards. Yeah, I think fleet support is underexplored. Honestly, like it's not very popular right now in the game, Markolian in general. After we lost Bloodhound Transport, I mean, we got nerfed. I mean, we didn't really lose it. The machinist got nerfed, so Bloodhound Transport fell down in popularity. But I feel like Markolian is actually very underexplored, and there's bound to be something really insane. This list looks good though, like the one that has a 60% win rate.
Yeah, so it seems that Markolian went back to some kind of burn mechanics that have not yet been figured out by the meta, I think. And that's why we're seeing a fall in the win rate for Markolians from where they were at before.
Yeah. Fun fact, right? This is my favorite style of parallel gameplay. The chip, I call it chip and burn, like from my old Hearthstone days and whatever. I call it chip and burn. It's like you have a deck that just is very aggressive, does a bit of chip damage, and then you can draw a lot and you can finish the game with burn. So I like chip and burn decks, and this is something that looks like what I would like.
Well, let's see if you can refine
Yeah.
Markolian to the point that it's back to the top.
Top 5. Let's see.
Okay, so the elephant in the room. There was a bunch of buffs to Augencore. Are we seeing any Augencore here in this meta? What happened to Augencore?
Quinto is just forcing me to talk about Organ Core right now. Everybody knows I don't like. Okay, but that being said, yes, Organ Core got some buffs. Let's look at I guess Workshop, right? Workshop is the highest win rate Organ Core right now with 49%. The funny thing about Workshop is this is actually universal.
Yeah.
The one we can see right here right
Still
now.
universal.
As at time of recording this, we don't have access to the hacker. Hacker got buffed as well, by the way. It's a 4 mana 3/5. I think now it draws a card when you 5 mana 3/5 when it draws a card when you play it. So we don't have access to hacker right now, but I think hacker does a lot for Universal Workshop.
Yeah.
Just gonna talk about it simply because I think it's gonna be insane of a high roll deck whereby you can play a hacker, draw a card, and if you draw let's say you play hacker on turn 7, right? You play it, you draw a 2 mana Ingrid, you can slam it straight on the board.
Yeah.
It's insane, and I think it's something worth considering once we get hacker back. So this is more like foreshadowing for the future if you guys are watching this video now and then you want to play hacker in the future. But yeah, I guess Universal Organ is still a decent deck. Gone are the days where it was the top 3 or maybe even best deck. But it's still solid. Universal cards are good right now, right? We got Estels, we got Cyrene. Researcher is an okay card. Saboteur counters the meta. And yeah, I mean, universal cards are played in every deck, and a lot of them are played in every deck, by the way. So I guess just going all in on universals and hoping that the girls, we call them Fredis and Ingrid, can carry. It's still a strategy that's playable. Of course, I personally haven't explored it much. I'm just waiting for the hacker to come back so we can do more high rolly things.
Yeah, for sure. The hacker changes everything in this deck. So, well,
Gosan to 4 mana, by the way. We didn't talk about I think the list below shows the list below this one shows Gosan. Yeah, it's at 4 energy right now. 4 mana right now. 4 mana 3/5 is good stats, by the way. It's just that you probably don't run this in most decks. Just that in Universal you have so much space, right? I think it's just a strict buff, obviously. 4 mana 3/5. I personally would want to be playing this guy in Universal because, let's just say you play against aggro, they hit you a lot in the face. You can just play this guy and sometimes snipe off some of their small guys and heal for a little bit. So this card also underplayed, I feel, in terms of the decks that it can go into. I think this goes into more decks than people think.
Yeah, for sure. These are the little tweaks that happened during the shotgun patch that definitely changed some things. Overall, we're still seeing the same meta with new additions. There were just cards that became so powerful, like Serene, that are just being added to every deck. And well, we can't talk much about Iraq, I guess, and even less about Jan, which has a 0% of games played. And Iraq, there wasn't any change to Iraq, I guess. Only 14 games played for Iraq.
Yeah.
So
I think Iraq's issue, I mean, we don't have to look at the list, but I think Iraq's biggest issue is that the Poisoner. I think looking at Iraq is good to talk about Poisoner, right? Poisoner being changed reduces its power level a lot because Iraq was one of those decks that was very good at sticking stuff on the board. And then you benefit from the Poisoner in the past, giving everything lethal. But then now Poisoner only gives one thing lethal. So yeah, I think Iraq not seeing any improvement. I mean, it's always been not high up Iraq, but
yeah,
the reason why Iraq never saw any improvement is because the Poisoner hit was so big for Iraq.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, here, as you can see, there's a tab where it shows the best decks with the highest win rates for each parallel. And then we have also the matchup tab where it shows the win rate of each paragon versus each other. As you were saying, there's somewhat of a good win rate from Nudon against Nehemiah, and not much against Gafar, since Gafar tends to be more aggro-like. It's still better to use Neve and instead of Nudon to go against Earthen. Cepius, as we can see, has a negative win rate. This is last month. Yeah, there's not many filters here. but negative win rate against Nehemiah, which, well, you can see everything here in the matchups tab. And well, I think that will be it for the data-driven meta review here with Lamby. Just don't forget, everyone watching this video, you can go into the priming and don't forget to share your data so we could make this data even more attractive and even more complete for those who are using our site. And well, with further ado, thanks a lot, Lamby, for being with us today. Really appreciate it. There was a ton of information about this new meta and even some tips about what is coming to the meta. And yeah.
Yeah, this was fun, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye, guys.
Awesome.